Hello and welcome to this class on Python loop. Before we begin, let us understand what looping means in Python. So I'll be describing looping as we are repeating something over and over until a particular condition is met. It's just like you you repeat a particular jumping, right? You keep jumping until you meet a particular condition that is stated. So looping means we are repeating something over and over until a particular condition is met or a stated condition is satisfied. So looping means we are repeating something over and over until a particular condition is met or satisfied, right? So we have two kinds of loop in Python. We have the for loop and we also have the while loop, okay? So these are the two primitive loops we have in Python, okay? So let us go on to describe what the for loop is used for. So in Python, the for loop is used to iterate over a sequence. By sequence here, I mean a list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, or a string. So let us start our first example for loop. So in this example, we will be, we'll say example one, we'll be looping through a string, okay? All right. So now, if you look at other documentations, you will find out that in loops in Python, we use I. For instance, let's work on this example and see. We'll say for, right? For I in, so we want to loop through a string. So we'll say this string will be using Adeyemi, the name Adeyemi. For I in Adeyemi, print I. Okay. Now, this I is commonly used because I stands for iterator. However, it is just a variable name. So we can use any variable. And you can see that here when we wrote I, right? You can see I is a variable here. So we can definitely, instead of using I, just use X as we will continue to use in our examples as we progress. So now what will happen when we run this? When we run this, we see that we have iterated, right? The string Adeyemi, okay? So that is the first example. So let's look at example two. In the second example, we want to print each name in a string, okay? So say example two, and in this example, we want to print each name in a string, okay? So to do that, we want to begin with the variable name. Okay, so let's store name in this variable. Say name equals, and as we write a list, we use the square brackets, sorry. And let's begin with Adeyemi. So we have Onyeka, and last but not the least, Musa. Okay, so we have declared this variable called name. We want to say for X, for X, we are using X as a variable now for X in name, okay? Print X. So with this now, when we run this second example, it's going to print all of these names, Adeyemi, Onyeka, and Musa. Okay, so as you can see, we have what? Adeyemi, Onyeka, and Musa. Okay, so that is the second example. We say we want to print each name in a string. So let us go to the third example now. And in the third example, we want to learn how to use the break statement in our for loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and say that, write a comment and say example 3 using the break statement. Okay. So to use the break statement, we are going to be working with the same variable name we have used before. So, but we're still going to declare it for, right? Name, we'll say equals Adeyemi, Onyeka, and Musa. Okay, so then we will say for X in name, the X, remember, the X is like a variable, okay? For X in name, okay? So print X. But this time, we want to use the break statement. And what does the break statement do? So when we use the break statement, we stop the loop before it loops through all the items. It's just like you are jumping over a loop, right? And so we want you to stop in the middle or after the first jump. That is what we just mean. So now we will say if X is equals to Adeyemi, break. Okay, so what we mean here is this. So while looping through this list, when you, if X is equal to this name, stop there. That is what the break statement says. Stop there. Okay, so if we run this, you are going to see, and we only have Adeyemi. Okay, so let us take this off so that we don't get confused. At least we have a record of what example 1 and 2 are. Okay, so we have example 3 now. So let's go ahead and run this. So you are going to see that we just have Adeyemi. But what if we wanted to stop at Onyeka? We would just say Onyeka here. So it's breaking after it loops on Onyeka. So if we do it, we are going to have Adeyemi and Onyeka. So we are saying just stop when you reach Onyeka. So you don't have to print Musa. That is what the break statement is doing for us. Okay. So the fourth example, let us look at the fourth example. Okay. So example 4 in the for loop, right? Example 4, we'll be using the continue statement in the example 4. So let's learn how to use continue statement. Okay. So to use the continue statement, we we are trying to continue iterating over a list based on a provided condition. That is a condition that we provide. Okay, so let's go ahead and just use, I'll just copy this. Okay. Okay, I've just copied that variable, and because we are using the same. So if we say for x in name, the variable name, we want to use the if statement now. Say if x equals Onyeka, for instance, we close that. We want to say continue. Let's print x. So what happens here is that if x in name, we are talking about all of these items, these iterators, right? So if x is equals to Onyeka, if this x is as Onyeka, continue. So let's run this and see. So we have, let me take this out and run it again so that we have clarity. So we have Adeyemi and Musa. So what we said is that look over. Remember, this is different from the break statement. The break statement say break at Onyeka, right? In example 3 that we use it. But the continuous statement here says, when you print Adeyemi, jump Onyeka, because we say if X is at Onyeka, it should continue, and print Musa. So if we had more names, okay, if we had more names, you will see that it's going to do the same thing. It's going to just always jump Onyeka because the X is equal to Onyeka. But if you change this to Musa, what do you think will happen? If you change X, the value X to Musa, what do you think will happen? It's going to also skip Musa now while printing Onyeka. So in this, now the output here we have Adeyemi, Onyeka, and Innocent. Okay. So that is how you use the continue statement in the for loop. So let's go to example 5. Example 5. In the 5th example here, we want to learn how to use the range function. Okay, using the range function, we for loop. So to use the range function, we want to return a sequence of numbers starting from 0, unless otherwise stated. And we are going to use the default starting from 0, unless otherwise stated. So we're going to state otherwise as well. So we are going to have several examples here. Let me just start from the basic. So we say for x in range. So we are saying in the range of, for instance, 4, print x. So what happens here, we want to basically iterate over over a sequence of 4. But by default, what we will be doing is iterating over like 0, that is in a range of 4 numbers. So we will have the output of 0, 1, 2, 3. Those are 4 numbers. And by default, it starts with 0. Okay, see 0, 1, 2, 3. So let me take this out so that we don't get it confused. So we have what? 0, 1, 2, 3. So we have 4 numbers, right? So by default, like I said, it just starts from 0 and gives us a sequence of 4 numbers. So if you change this to 6, it gives us a sequence of 6. So you should know by default here, you should know that it's not going to print the number 6, but going to end at 5 because it's starting from 0. Okay, so you see 0, 1, 2, 5. Okay, so that is what happens. So what if we wanted to state the range? What if we don't want the default? We just want to say, okay, from a particular number to a particular number or between a particular number. So what if we wanted to do that? So in that case, let's say for X in range, okay, and now we want to state the particular number from the beginning, let's say 6 and 24, okay? So let us print X now. Okay, sorry, print X. Okay, so if we run this, we are going to see our iterations now. That is to say, let me take this out. Okay, and run this so that we see. So we have from 6 to what? 23. Okay, from 6 to 23 in the range that we have provided, instead of starting from 0, okay, as we had in the first example. So now there is also a third situation, that is to say when we provide an increment, because if you look at this now, it basically was an increment of 1. That is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and so on up to 23. So it was basically an increment of 1. What if that is by default, right? It's an increment of 1. What if we want to provide a number by which it increases? Okay, for instance, now, all we need to do in such situations is to provide the increment as a third value. So if I want this to be increased by the value 6, what happens now when we run this? You are going to see that it comes in 6, so we have 6, 12, and 18. Okay, that is how we have it here between 6 and 24, right? If we in the increment of 6, we have 6, 12, and 18. So that is what happens here. So if we say we want to do, say, 24 here, in the range of 24 to 100, okay, and we want it to be to increase by the range by 6, and we print, this is what we will have. You see now we have 24. 24 plus 6 makes it 30. 30 plus 6 makes it 36. 36 plus 6, 42. So we are basically having in an increment of 6, the third value here provided. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So that is for the for loop. So let us look at the while loop with several examples now, okay? So the while loop is used to execute a set of statements as long as a specified condition is true. So let us just have a kind of a basic example here. So let's say we have a variable x, and we say x is equals to 4, okay? So the while loop is just using the while function or keyword, okay? We have the while keyword. We say, so while x is less than 10. So this is x, right? And we say x is 4. So in this case now, while x is less than, right? Less than 10. So let's print what? X. But we want to add something. We want to make sure we can add a value to our existing variable and assign the new value to the same variable, right? So we don't want to stop here. We want to say x is plus equal, say, let's say 4. So it's in this case that we now say, we want to say in this case that this plus equals, what this plus equals does is that we want it to add this value 4 to our original to our assigned variable. So let us run this and see what it does. So we have 4 and 8. So what happens is that we have, if x, we say x rather, x is equal to 4, and while x is less than 10, print x. So it's definitely going to print all the values between 4 and less than 10. So, but now we say we want to what? Add 4, right, to our existing variable. So definitely it's going to print just 4 and 8 because we asked it to say to print values that are less than 10. So, but let me give a clear example here. If we had this as 1, what we will do is that we have 4. Are you seeing the addition, right? The sequence now, we have a single addition of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these values are less than 10. So between 4, which is the variable 4, and the number that is less than 10, so print those values for us. So that is what we say. So if this was 1, our values would have been 1 to 9 because we have 1 to 9 because we say x here is 1. Okay, so that is how it works. But if we say now, for instance, and say x plus equals to 4, what happens is that it says it adds 4 to the variable 1, x, which is 1 rather. It adds 4 to the variable x, which is 1. So you see we have in the output, we have 1, the original variable. We have 5, which is 4 plus 1, the original variable. And we also have 9 because it's going to be 4 plus 5, right? Making 9. And all of these values must be less than 10. All right. So before we end today's session, let us use the break statement, okay? In while loop. Let's use the break statement here. So now we have seen that this is quite interesting, right? So let us use the break statement. And like we said earlier in the for loops, we say the break statement helps us to exit the loop, right? So let us just do this now with the examples we used earlier. Say x is equal to 4. So we said while, using the while loop, right? While x is less than 10, the value 10, let us print what? Print x, okay? So we want to continue, right? So we want to add the if statement. So let's say if x is equals to 8, that is if x, 8 is x, x is 8. That is basically what it is. So we want to now say break. So break, okay, x plus equals 1. Okay, so let us basically see what this does. We said x is equal to 4, right? We have assigned the 4 to the variable x. And we say while x is less than 10. So we want it to print values that are less than 10, okay? But now we said if x is 8, it should break it there. That is, we say we want it to stop at 8. You know, initially you see that when we did not use the break statement, we stopped at 9. So if we say if x is as 6, what do you think will happen? We will stop at the value 6. You see, 4, 5, 6. That is the x from 4, and adding 1 through makes going to 6. If we change this to 2, it's going to be adding by 2, right? So we are going to have 4 and 6 because we asked it to break at 6. So I believe this is clear. And as usual, we expect your questions and we will respond to them very quickly and make sure that it's understandable. So thank you so much. We are expecting your questions.